Good day, Junior Tuckies. I am Mrs. Breedenkamp, and I'm going to be teaching you the analysis of poetry in this lesson. Let's start off with the basics of poetry. What is a verse? Originally, it's been used to describe a single line in poetry, but today it's actually used more broadly, especially since the rise of the free verse poetry. It often brings together pleasing sounds, interesting images, and emotions. We can also say that you write a verse of poetry, or you can say, I refer to the second verse. You get two types of verse. You get free verse, which has no rhyme and no meter. Now, meter is the way in which a sentence in poetry is said, the rhythm. And meter just means stressed and unstressed syllables. A free verse also tells a story and there's lots of repetition. Then we get blank verse. This is an unrhymed meter, usually iambic pentameter. Now, iambic pentameter means that there are 5 stressed syllables and 5 unstressed syllables. Examples of free verse poetry, then and now. Then. This is a poem, After the Ship Sea by Walt Whitman. After the ship sea, after the whistling winds, after the white-grey sails taut to their spars and ropes, below a myriad waves, hastening, lifting up their necks, tending in ceaseless flow towards the track of the ship. Waves of the ocean bubbling and gurgling, blithely prying. Waves dilating, waves, liquid, uneven, emulsious waves. Towards that whirling current, laughing and buoyant with curves, where the great vessels sailing and tracking displace the surface. Now I know this poem is difficult to understand, but I wanted to show you exactly what free verse is. You will see that there's absolutely no rhyme in this poem, and there's actually no meter, there's no rhythm to our sentences. I've added a YouTube link to a video of the poem being recited so that you can hear exactly what it sounds like. Now, a free verse can also be converted into a song, and I chose the song Titanium by David Guetta. I will read the song, but I've included a YouTube video for you so that you can hear it for yourself. You shout it out, but I can't hear a word you say. I'm talking loud, not saying much. I'm criticized, but all your bullets ricochet. Shoot me down, but I get up. I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Fire away, fire away. Ricochet, you take your aim. Fire away, fire away. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. You will see that there's no rhyme in this song, and there is no rhythm unless it gets put to music. You will also notice there is a lot of repetition. Examples of blank verse, then and now. Then. This is a blank verse extract from the poem Mending Walls by Robert Frost. Now remember, this type of verse does have meter. It has rhythm within each sentence. And usually we are using the meter or the rhythm iambic pentameter, meaning you will have 5 stressed syllables or 5 unstressed syllables. However, you do get many different types of meter. I am going to say the poem with the stressed and unstressed syllables. Something is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it, and spills the upper boulders in the sun. You will see how I've stressed and unstressed the different syllables in this blank verse. Then I needed to find a blank verse song for now. This was very difficult, but I did find an extract from Brown Skin Girl by Beyonce. So remember, 5 stressed syllables, 5 unstressed syllables, but there are very many different types of meter. So I'm going to say it, not sing it. I've included the YouTube videos for you to go and have a look. Tonight I might fall in love depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing, call it love. She fightin' but fallin' slowly. If you ever you are in doubt, remember what Mama told me. You will see though, although there is no rhyme, we can see the stressed and unstressed syllables, especially if you go look at that YouTube video. What is a stanza? We can call it the paragraph of poetry. It's also a group of lines in poem. It's usually set off by an indentation or paragraphing. It can be used more strictly, like when you're using a sonnet, or more freely, like in free verse poetry. It also can contain a rhyme or a pattern. What is a rhyme scheme? A rhyme scheme is the repetition of sounds in a poem to create a pattern or a rhyme. There are many different types of rhyme scheme. We use the letters of the alphabet to decode rhyme scheme. And rhyme scheme can also be linked to certain formats of poetry, like a sonnet or ballad. You will see over here I included a picture of one of the most common rhyme schemes you've ever seen. Roses are red, violets are blue, I'm out of my head with thinking of you. Red and head get A because they rhyme, where blue and you get B because they rhyme. Let's look at different types of rhyme. First up is the alternate rhyme. This means that the first and third lines of rhyme and the second and fourth lines rhyme at the end. So it follows a pattern of AB, AB for each stanza. This rhyme scheme is usually used for 4-line stanzas. I'm going to show you a very common 4-line stanza and what William Shakespeare actually developed as the sonnet. So this is Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Now I know that sounds super confusing and like it's in another language, but we are looking at rhyme in this exercise. So you will see day gets A and May gets A. Day and May rhyme. You will see that temperate and date get B. Now I know it doesn't exactly sound the same, but remember we do have a South African accent, and this was written in England and in the 1600s. So you must just take into account that accents do play a role in rhyme. Coupled rhyme, or as William Shakespeare dubbed it, the rhyming couplet. A coupled rhyme is a 2-line stanza that rhymes following the rhyme scheme A, B, B, C, C, or something similar. Now I've used the exact same poem from the slide before, but I've used the last 2 lines of his poetry. Something about a sonnet, or interesting fact about a sonnet, is that it has a very clear structure and a very clear rhyme. So every single sonnet that you ever find from now until grade 12 will have very clear structure and very clear rhyme. Let's have a look at William Shakespeare's sonnet. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. See and thee rhyme, and that is why they got the letters GG. We went all the way through the alphabet from A to G. Enclosed rhyme. This means that the first and the fourth line rhymes, as well as the second and third line rhymes. So the pattern will be A, B, B, A. Let's have a look at this example. Others abide our questions, thou art free. We ask and ask, thou smilest and art still. Out-topping knowledge. For the loftiest hill, who is the stars and crowns his majesty. Once again, grade 8s, I know this sounds confusing, and I know that it sounds like a different language, but we're looking at rhyme. Free gets A, and majesty also gets A because they rhyme, as well as still and hill, both get B. Let's look at some uncommon rhyme types. The first one is a limerick. A limerick is a very important and well-structured poem that has 5 lines with the rhyme scheme A-A-B-B-A. I've used a classic nursery rhyme over here. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1 and down he run, hickory dickory dock. Once again, 5 lines, the rhyme scheme A-A-B-B-A. Then we get a villanelle. This type of poem, we have 5 3-line stanzas that follow a rhyme scheme of A-B-A. The villanelle always concludes with a 4-line stanza with the pattern A-B-A-A. Let's have a look at a very famous poem. Do not go gentle into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right. You will see that night, light, and right all got A because they rhyme, and day got B. Now let's look at the speaker versus the poet. The speaker is the voice that you hear in the poem. It often sets the tone and the mood of the poem, and it's as if that person is living inside of the poetry. They are experiencing it. The speaker is experiencing what is happening in the poetry. Now, a poet is like the author, the person who writes the poetry, who creates the speaker. They also create the speaker's voice within the poem. You can see a poet as the artist behind the poetry and as the artist behind creating the speaker. Alright, grade 8s, I hope this lesson helped you out with some poetry. Next up is visual literacy.